Hey y'all, welcome to Bugs and a Lip Gloss. I'm Whiskey and I'm with my friend Sheila here, and we are going to have another chit chat conversation like we've had with all these other amazing warrior women. And Miss Sheila, if you'd like to introduce yourself with more detail, please go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Whiskey, for having me on here. I love to get out and just mix with women who have a story to tell, So I find it very empowering for me. I hope my attentiveness to them empowers them. And so, it's just amazing how it works. My name is Sheila Urban. I live in Dodge City, Kansas. I'm almost 60 years old. I'm 59. I'll be 60 in February. So this year I turned 59. So I've been clean and sober for 23 years.
Woo-hoo.
One of the best decisions I ever made. Absolutely. I it's only due to a loving God, because I didn't deserve to live. So I run, people entrust me with their kids today. I run a small riding academy. I've been around horses all my life. And my latest dip in the water is I am starting a Saddle Sisters for women who strive to be their authentic self through equine experiences. We are just a bunch of ladies. I have a couple of programs, levels of programs, if you want to call them. And it's, self-help, obtain a goal, whatever you want to do. We encourage each other. We don't, it's just a place of encouragement and feel good. So
Awesome.
That's what I do with my.
So that was amazing. There's so many things to unpack there. Like you're
Right.
Awesome. Thank you. So, I want to go back to, and I'll say it, I say with all the ladies, you can unpack what you want, don't say what you want. You're in the driver's seat on this. You have full control of that, right? But I want to go back to the comment that you said you've been clean and sober 22, 23 years. And thank you for that. That is just amazing. That's an amazing feat. And I'm so happy that you've been able to conquer that journey yourself. But there was a comment on there that you said, thank God, because I didn't deserve to live. I'm going to go right in there right now.
You bet.
So where does that come from? Like, unpack that for me, if you would.
Okay. So I grew up in a tradition, well, not really even traditional. I grew up in a home, and my understanding of Jesus and God, my higher power, which I choose to call God, was I had to earn my way into his
Graces.
into liking, into his presence, into his likings. However, if I wasn't good, then I wouldn't get there.
Mm-hmm.
So due to self-esteem issues, my parents had not, I made my own choices, but when drinking was acceptable in the home, that's just what you did. When you got old enough, you drank. Of course, that led into some, just the addiction.
Snowball effect.
Absolutely. So I believed, because of all I had done and all the thoughts, all the dirty secrets I had, all the that I didn't deserve to be in his presence. And somewhere between being threatened to my kids to be taken away from me and me saying, fuck you. Oops, watch that.
You're fine. You're fine. We are open and authentic here.
Yeah. You watch me,
Yeah.
Just watch me. So, but I, thank God that he's the one that's kept me clean and sober for 23 years. Mm-hmm. And it's only due to his grace,
Right.
I don't consider myself religious, and I hope I don't come across that. I am spiritual.
Right.
I'm very spiritual. I do not go to church every Sunday. Everybody has to pick their own path.
Absolutely. And I can relate to the alcohol in the house thing, but I didn't wait until I was an adult. You say when you get older, that's the natural progression. My natural progression did not wait for adulthood.
No, no.
Actual, all of my childhood pictures have alcohol in them. I come from a long line of Russian immigrants, so it's basically in my DNA. And my first experience remembering alcohol was making my dad's drinks. I was
Right.
making his, and when they
Right.
weren't right, you took them back in the house, you made his correctly, and what do you think happened to the first one?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I understand that part, but and is there is it just because there was accessibility to that, or were there other triggers that were like, oh well, this helps take care of this, so I'm going to keep
Well,
going there?
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Lack of self-esteem. I felt more confident when I drank. I came from a broken home.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like I said, both of my parents were raging alcoholics.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it just, they didn't do the drugs, but alcohol was just a gateway for me to get in.
It was the norm.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was okay. So what do you do when you drink? You go to bars. What do you do in your bars? You pick up, whatever you want. you know, I gotta come try this, and I get it, I was an 80s kid. Um, so it just, I don't know, you could drink when you're 18, although I didn't wait that long either, but it just, that's what you did, you know.
Yeah.
Hot.
And back then, I'm an 80s kid too. I'm a Gen Xer too. And I remember like back then, and I grew up in Indiana, drinking age was 21, but I remember being in bars with my dad and my grandma. Like it was nothing to take your kid into a bar with you,
Right.
So it was like it was such a norm and such a like just a standard that was set that you didn't think twice about it. And then all the other self-esteem issues and everything else, and the 10-foot tall and bulletproof, it just rolls right into it. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um and that part is I think a pivotal pattern that's happened to a lot of us, and it helped us, didn't help us, it created a crutch that
Oh,
we did.
absolutely.
And I've talked about coping mechanisms in some of my other videos too, and it's and let's face it, our parents were using that coping mechanism, so we learned that coping mechanism.
Because we learn anytime, our makeup, our not the DNA part, but what we bring into adulthood is things we've learned through childhood that makes it okay. We only with experience, right? And when you're 18, you base the prior 18-year experiences on what you take into adulthood
Mm-hmm.
or some adulthood, So,
Well, and then
I
even sorry, even I'm thinking about my mom's side of the family. My mom didn't drink. If she drank when I was younger, I don't remember it, but she didn't drink when I was older. But her mom, I remember holidays and going over over there on holidays, and my grandma had like a 30-foot bar in her basement. Like it was all lined up and it was a beautiful bar, but that side of the family didn't go out. It was in the house.
Mhm. You didn't have to go anywhere.
No, so and that just popped in my head. I'm like, oh, it was on the other side of the family too. It was right there at everybody sitting at tables for Thanksgiving, and we're sitting at this long table next to the bar. So all the holidays were next in the bar. So
Right. What are your holiday memories? There are people getting drunk and fighting, right?
on one side of the family, yeah, and on the other side, I don't remember.
Well,
I don't
mom and dad
recall that happening.
holiday. I mean, that's what my holiday experience was,
Yeah,
you know. So it's crazy. The more of the onion layer we pull off, the more I'm just amazed that I'm standing upright.
exactly. And you said
And I'm grateful for that.
well, you said you're pushing 60. I'm actually going to be 48 in June, so I'm pushing 50. And I
Right.
have friends that are like, "Oh, I'm going to be 50. This is horrible, blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "God, let me see 30." you know, I'm like, I'm so grateful that I've been alive 2 decades than longer than I thought was going to happen.
Were you one of those girls that said, you know what, if I live to be 30, I'll be doing good? I wasn't supposed to live past 30.
Oh yeah, I almost
I didn't
did.
plan for that. I did not plan for that because I wasn't going to be around.
Yeah. And I can't even say that I said that. I think I didn't even think about it.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like that wasn't even on my radar. Like, gee, I should actually live longer than 30, you know? And I was such a goody two shoes when I was younger. I say goody two shoes after we've had this whole conversation about alcohol, right? But that was the norm. That wasn't out of being
There was
good.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And I always made jokes that it was such a goody two shoes when I was younger that I made myself sick. And then at some point in my life that flipped over and I went full throttle the other direction. Right. But I realize now that that goody two shoes wasn't innately me. It was control and it was survival.
Right. Because it was your coping mechanism to get through.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
can you relate to that as an experience in the past, or is there something else that you had to break from being younger to now that you realized was a that led to unhealthy coping mechanisms?
I was an athlete in school.
Mhm.
Okay. I made very good grades and had to study at it. I wasn't gifted to be a smart person. So really had to study at it, in algebra and things like that. My first, so I got scholarships to colleges. Okay. I didn't go. I was going to take a year off and figure out where I was going to go. Um, Retrospect, hindsight's 2020, realized I was scared to death.
Mhm.
No, nobody uh told me or or I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Nobody prepared me to go to
Right.
college,
Right.
because by the time you got to 18, you ain't got a job.
Yep.
And college was something for the rich and famous, or what, not rich and famous, but you know what I'm saying, other
Yeah.
than our group. So anyway, so that was the first thing. So that just opened it up that, oh wow, I go to the bars after work, right?
So
Um,
I'm from the Rust Belt. I'm from Chicagoland. So you being Kansas, were you the Rust Belt there too? Like steel mills, blue collar.
no, no, no. I actually graduated school from Greeley Central High in Greeley, Colorado.
Oh, Colorado. Okay.
Yeah, I actually graduated school there, decided to take a year off, and then within that year, I moved to Kansas because I was actually born in Kansas, but due to my parents breaking up and my dad getting custody of me, I ended up in Colorado with him when I was 5. I guess we were a little bit older, but anyway, and so the minute I graduated, I came back to Kansas. And then within 2 years, I bought my first house because
Wow.
that's what you do,
Right.
right? Even though I worked 3 jobs, of course, the latter being in a bar, you know, I could do that.
Yeah.
Um, so, but so the question was, what mechanisms and things did I do to survive? I had to please people. And
Mhm.
it's funny that is, I mention that now at 59, because I think when I got clean and sober at 35, I didn't know that,
Right.
because I never thought of myself as a people pleaser. But, and that's, like I said, the more the layer onions come off, and that's probably the most thing I'm most grateful for, is that I still get to learn about me, and I
Absolutely.
learn who I am, what I love about myself, and it's okay to love me, and I am worthy of love, um, because by the grace of God, you know. And had I not got, because the drugs were my coping mechanisms, the alcohol and the drugs were. That's how I survived my first 35 years. You
Right.
know, I was drinking beer when I was sitting on my mom's lap. It was okay.
Yeah.
Oh, here, drink a beer. you know, they tell me horror stories like that. And, you know, it's just is what it is.
It's a
So did that
culture. It's a
happen or
culture.
not?
It did, absolutely. And it's funny you said I didn't, I'm glad, or I'm surprised I didn't realize it till I was sober and 35. And I know personally, and I don't know if this is you still, um, breaking those patterns and breaking that people pleasing pattern, like even when you realize it, excuse me, you realize it and you're aware of it, it's still, when I tell people no now, because I'm really good at telling people no now, but it's still a gut wrenching feeling. Like I have to force myself to stand in it.
Well, I'm going to give you a little tidbit too. Okay, so like I said, here I am 59 years old, and I just discovered I still have those traits, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I
I didn't want to bust you out.
Yeah, yeah. So here, one of the things that I read, and it was just like smack in the face. Whoa. And I can't even remember what I read it for. But it said if you tend to volunteer for things, you know, like I want to be the secretary of this club, and, you know, because now I'm a productive member of society, right?
Right.
Um, you know,
That's
I
the
want to do
good
this.
people do.
You know what? It's still one of my people pleasing traits.
Right.
And it was like, gosh, dang it. I never knew that before. I could have saved myself the last 10 years, all these groups I joined and tried to be a part of, just telling them no.
Yeah.
Today, at that.
Yes. And like the women in my group and other women I run into, they're always like, I don't have time. I'm so tired. I'm so frustrated. And I'm like, because you don't tell anybody no, you know, and like,
Right.
and one of the things to understand is like when we finally, because on some innate level, we've got this, right? We've got this. So if I don't do it, nobody else is going to step up. That's the dialogue in, well, it was the dialogue in my head anyway, right? I've got this.
Absolutely.
I'll do it better than everybody else. Get out of my way, right? And what I had to
Yeah.
realize is I wasn't giving anybody else the opportunity to step up, right?
Yes. I'll take care of it. It's okay.
Yeah, and I actually have a video on my YouTube channel. It's called I Divorced Neurotic Nancy. And I used to tell everybody, like, I'm a natural born leader. I don't know how I always end up in charge of groups. I always end up doing this. And it was my badge of honor, right? And then I realized, no, that I was conditioned to do that. I was conditioned to be that way. And I'm exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah. So where did your people pleasing come from?
Survival. Absolutely survival. Like you towed the line and you did what you did, or there was going to be consequences.
Right. And I had a stepmother that I tried to please a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just wanted, when my mom and dad were married and in that dysfunction, both families were dysfunctional, but it's just you get along, you're the people pleaser, you get along so you don't cause any havoc.
You get along to go along.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because the consequences are by far worse than the exhaustion and what it was you had to put yourself through to do it.
Exactly.
And it's
That's,
so ingrained so young that
we don't not supposed to be there.
as far as I can tell, just from up, and I don't remember a lot from my childhood, but from what I can tell from what other people have filled me in now that I'm older, mine started at like 5. I'm 48. Yep. I'm just now at 48, going on to 48, taking care of only me. I'm just now telling people, no, I'm good. I don't need that. You might need that, but I don't.
Right. Right.
And your consequences of me not doing something are your consequences, not mine.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Because on the flip side of that saying no is that guilt that if something didn't work out, that message comes back again that, well, that wouldn't have happened if I would have stepped in. Which is not true. We don't know that.
We don't know that. We just we make that our trait. That
it's our inner dialogue.
Yep, for sure.
It's crazy, right? So
yes,
35 is your magic number, and you said it, what, the threat of losing your kids, and that's, I mean, obviously that's enough to make somebody stop, but a lot of people it's not.
No,
So
it's
what was the thing? What was that switch, that flip that made you get your head out of your rear end?
really, I was, that it sounds so simple and so cliche. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Mm-hmm.
I was tired. I was tired of the rat race. I was tired of the cover up. I didn't, I really believe the last 5 years of my addiction, I was only trying to kill myself.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was anything else, you know,
Right. It was
and I,
just that sheer apathy of like, whatever, if it happens, it happens.
that's right. My kids would be better off without me. My,
Yeah.
it just everybody would be better off, you
And
know. It kind
go ahead.
I'm sure you'd have, but you've heard of the word functioning addict.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's me. Went to work, kept a job, raised my kids. Now, my kids may not see me for 3 or 4 days,
Mm-hmm.
but they were taken care of. I went to work every day, you know what I mean? And I think just the two different lives was also, I was just sick and tired of it.
Yeah.
When my, I don't know what it's, the whole day that it went down, I was just like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done. So yeah, it was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And it's really what it was.
So, um, I forgot what I was going to say with that. Oh, I'll actually share mine if you don't mind. Um,
No,
but what, and I actually still drink, but I don't get drunk. Like I'm a social drinker, but I don't get drunk, and I don't do any of the things that I did before, right? I've healed those portions where I'm in control of that addiction. Not everybody can do that. And it's everybody's path and journey is different, right? But
absolutely.
what snapped me out of it was I ended up dating a guy who was a raging alcoholic and violent. And I figured out real quick that I couldn't get drunk because I had to keep my wits about me. And it was actually the relationship and the situation that I was in that made me sober up. And it sounds so counterintuitive, like you just go in with the party and whatever, let things happen. And that's not what happened. Like my own survival instinct to survive the relationship made me let go of the bottle. So people look at me now and they're like, wait, you still drink? And I'm like, yeah. But the trigger, the thing that shut it off is different than what it is for most people. So that's just, I like to, I push in my stories in different spots and wherever it seems teachable.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what was the first thing, or what was that thing that you had to, what was that demon or what was that monster? Because it's not the addiction, right? The addiction is the symptom of something else. So
Right.
what was it that you had to heal or you had to address? What did you have to take care of to get on that path?
I believe it was, it's funny. I wish I had tape recorded my first 5 years of meetings.
Uh-huh.
You know, I'm sure I was batshit crazy. Uh, but
Hey,
I
it's
still,
allowed.
I
Anybody who
still am.
says they've never been batshit crazy is lying.
Yeah. Yeah. But I really think I had to heal the inner child,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and the way I healed it, because there's still sometimes today that I'm like, oh yeah, that's still a little tender. That's still a little bit raw. That, you know what I mean? So
Oh,
I don't think,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. So, and I really think it was the inner child and the self-love. And because I did not say self-love for the first 15 years in my recovery. I didn't know what that was, but I think I had to accept that. I just had to accept it. I didn't deal with it. I just accepted it at that point.
Well, see, and
And
I
then
think, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, that's it.
Um, is it, this is what I think, of course. Um, there's such a guilt and shame when you're in an addiction that self-perpetuates itself. And then when you sober up and you let go of the addiction itself, there's still the guilt and shame that you even had the addiction. Like
Yes.
you're addicted to the shame,
Yes.
and you just
Yeah.
beat yourself up forever. Like what made you it's obviously just a decision, but was there something that made you finally make that choice to let it go?
You mean in the last 5 years?
Or whenever it was, like what was that catalyst that made you finally switch gears from I'm going to stop beating myself up?
Well, and I think it's only been in the last 5 years that
Wow.
I can really say I'm working on not beating myself up. Because even though I got clean and sober and stuff, I mean, and I, the addiction was something I could quit beating myself up about. Because that, does that make sense?
Yes.
And then, um, so then I got clean and sober. Well, then my life started getting better. And
Mm-hmm.
so it just all wasn't roses, but it was just better. And so I didn't deal with the core issue. Like I said, it's layers, man. It's layers.
Oh yeah.
And so it's just been in the last 5 years that maybe it's because my children are grown. I don't know. I think it's because of where I'm at in life. You know what? It's okay. There's no reason for me to quit journaling every day about all the shit I didn't get done the day before.
Right.
That's a for me to beat myself up. It's
Right.
okay. What? I'll make a new list today. It's all right.
Yeah, and we get to a point where we don't need abusers or addictions because we catch ourselves abusing ourselves. Like it's where we're accountable in all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and let's talk about the cycle of men. Did you
Oh, let's.
you know what I mean? A cycle of men, it was a 5 year cycle.
Mm-hmm.
I was attracted to them because they were either the drug dealer or they like to hang out in bars or they like to do this or that. And so we, do the thing and then we start living together within, a month. And then,
Classic
we're in this.
cycle.
Yeah. So then, we're in this deal and a couple years, it's like, okay, let's get clean. Let's do this. So, okay. Well, then, either you're trying or they're trying and you're not trying, whichever. And then pretty soon you go, you know what? This just ain't working. So you kick them out, right? Boy, then I would sign up for college and I'm going to do all these things. And 2 weeks, I'm back in the bar. Do you know what I mean?
Well, and it's such a codependent cycle, right? The addictions are codependency, the men are codependency, the people pleasing is codependency. It is all codependency.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely. There's
and
a book called Healing the Child Within, and it's a codependent book.
yeah. Which one is it?
Heal the Child Within.
Is it a blue and white book?
I thought it was like the people wore blue suits, I think.
Okay. Well, I might have seen a different edition, but when I was in therapy, my therapist had me working on that book. I didn't make it all the way through, but I was working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where does horses fit into all of this?
Well, my dad always had horses. I grew up riding horses. And then even, through my first divorce, I really kind of feel the horses helped me get through that.
Mm-hmm.
I horse pen and just, the therapy of it. Then I had my daughters. I had got clean and sober. We had a pony and two Appaloosas. So, and like I said, I grew up a cowgirl. I knew how to ride. I knew how to stay on. I knew how to do all these things and rope and chew and cuss. I mean, all those deals. So
Right.
anyway, So anyway, I waited a year after I started recovery, started dating a man, and he says, if you could have any horse you wanted, what would it be? And I'm like, well, I don't know, a paint, you know. So then we got to breeding paints. And so then I went to a instructor for a clinic. I was absolutely hooked. Absolutely hooked. I took my horsemanship, my knowledge, all to 5-10 times the levels. And so, and then the man that asked me that, we got married. We bought a farm, and so I was like the 4-H leader, 4-H horse leader and stuff. And then finally I just said, you know what? I can't beg these people to come ride with me. They're going to pay me to come ride with me. So I opened up my academy and quit my corporate job. And here I am.
Wow. Like, okay. So people tell me I'm ballsy all the time, and you're also would be considered ballsy, because to quit the corporate job and follow your dream is one of those things that's happening more and more nowadays, but people are so scared to step out and do that. So
that's why Tony Robbins is popular. I mean, he's always been popular, but he's skyrocketing right now.
Right. And it's because of that. I agree. I think it's because of that transition, and people are looking for something more than what's conventional. So is that what helped you? I mean, you just said Tony Robbins, obviously, but what intrinsically helped you make that jump?
Well, I had stepped down from upper management and went into mid management. And then I kind of told him, because I don't play well with politics. You know how it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know how it is. So I said, fine, I'll go back to being a production employee.
Sorry, I'm from education. So
yeah. So I went back to being a production employee, and I was taken out of there one day in an ambulance, and I just felt like a jellyfish.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. I mean, it was crazy. And I really think now knowing kind of the route I've taken and stuff, I think I was premenopausal.
Yeah.
And I kind of just went, I ain't doing this no more.
Yep.
I think that was my body saying, you've had enough stress of this job. Call it quits.
And our bodies will tell us what's going on, and we're trained to ignore that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We're trained to ignore that. Just keep pushing, just drop that baby in the field and keep going.
Yep. Exactly.
And I was just talking to a male friend of mine today, as a matter of fact. He was talking about somebody else, another woman who goes after extreme feminists, right? And I joked and I said, the only thing that I think extreme feminism did was give us more work. Because there's really not a balance when it comes to, okay, you're taking care of the kids, or you're getting your career, so I'll help take care of the kids. That didn't really happen overall. It's like, oh, you want 3 kids? Here, let me have 3 kids with you, and I'll run a career, and I'll keep a spotless house, and I'll do this, and I'll have hobbies, and I'll run all the kids to all their sports events, and I'll do it in high heels and perfect makeup in a size 2. And it's just so exhausting, and social media hasn't helped that at all. But I digress. So what I had a question and I lost it. What is your your sound is gone. You turned your mute on.
There we go.
Okay.
There we go. Thank you. I said, I hate it when that train jumps the track.
Right. Yeah, it happens to me a lot. If you watch all my videos, it just squirrels out somewhere. It's fine. It's okay. It's just me. Not just. That's one of the things I wrote. You said just a bunch of ladies in your group, in your endeavors. And I wrote not just a bunch of ladies, because I've actually gotten rid of the word just, and I just did it again. So it's ongoing, right?
Yes, I get that.
Yeah. Just is a disqualifier. It in that whole self-worth thing. I think that it lessens the impact personally to ourselves of what we're doing. Oh, I'm just doing this. Oh, I'm just that. You know,
that is the exact same way the term I know, it does the same thing, because when somebody's explaining something to you and you go, yeah, I know, or I know that. And this happens in horse riding a lot. So what you do when you say I know is you shut the curtain. You quit listening and you quit learning.
I saw it in classrooms all the time.
Really?
All the time. Like that they're struggling with a skill, and you try to help them with their skill, and they're like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know that part. Yeah, I know. And I'm like, no, but you missed the part before the part I just told you. That's why you can't get this part right. You know, and there's a whole special set of skills when it comes to that, because it's usually not the academics that was in the way for them, but it's those. And I love that you said that. And another one is but. I say but means ignore everything I just said and listen to what I'm saying now.
Good point. I like that one.
So
yeah.
I switched from but to and. You know, I'm upset, or I see what you're saying and blah, 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 instead of I see what you're saying, but blah, 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 because you don't, that means you're not acknowledging what they're saying, right? And that I know is followed by but a lot. I know, but.
See, when I hear I know, but, to me, that's an excuse.
Absolutely.
But perfect sense what you're saying, after the but, don't listen to anything prior.
Yeah, I nothing know before that mattered.
Yeah, exactly. Like, interesting.
You're so pretty, but maybe you should try your hair like this. It's like, that's a backhanded compliment, right? That's, I don't like what you're doing for yourself. I want you to do it the way I want you to do it.
Yes. That cliche you were talking about, let me do all this stuff, run the kids around, high heels, size 2, perfect makeup, blah, blah, blah. That's why I put authentic selves in the Saddle Sisters.
Absolutely.
I can do the makeup. I can play the corporate person. I'm very good at playing that. But I want to be authentic. And when I come to this group, it's, I took a shower today for you guys, because in every crevice in my neck, there was dirt. I mean, do you know what I'm saying?
I would have loved to. It would have been fine.
I worked also here. Right. Because I am strong enough or love myself enough to know that I can be authentic today. I don't have to be the people pleaser. And that was interesting.
I have to put this out here. I mean, my trusty dusty, you see how crappy this hat is, and I don't care. It's my hat, right? And Miss Shelia here, y'all, come straight out of the barn and straight out of the shower, still in her bathrobe, to do this interview. And I'm like, do you want to finish your preparation? You're fine. You could do whatever. I have time. She's like, nope, let's go. And that's that authentic. She's like, this is me. This is where I was when you hit record. Let's go. And this is just paramount of the type of the women role models that I want to show and be leaders for other women, right? This is it.
Yes.
I'm just happy right now.
Oh, good. And hey, Whiskey, you're welcome to my phone number to pass it around. It's quite okay. I do therapeutic writing. I do, whatever. If I can help somebody that follows you or whatever, hey, I'm all in. Okay.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And at least in the ladies group, I'll drop it because it's private and you won't get a bunch of crazies calling your phone. Creepers. But and that brings me to something, because I fostered a horse before. I loved horses as I was as a kid, and I wasn't allowed to have one, but I read everything. I was one of those
Absolutely.
little girls. The black stallion was the boss, right? So what, and I understand this, but if you want to explain to people, what is it that you have to do or you have to be with yourself in order to work with a horse? Because a horse knows.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
What is
Um, that is the body language.
that? Mm-hmm.
That is what the tenseness in your body is. Okay, so start with the mental.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not mentally, my phone's doing, if
Okay.
you're not mentally prepared, I want to say prepared, but really mentally able to leave everything at the barn door when you go to the horse, then you bring him baggage to have to shift through for you before he can reach you. Does
Mm,
that make sense?
absolutely.
So that's the mental part. And it's just like it's just like my mind, my train just left.
It's
So
okay.
it's just like, because the horse wants to see the authentic you.
Mm-hmm.
So in therapy, when I do teenagers basically, um and then I get some that are 17, 18, and they know it all and all that, and then I just give them a horse and the horse tells me exactly what I thought, but and
Right.
I just horse said, um because they do, because if they cannot see your authentic self, they're going to avoid you. Okay.
Right.
But say you're here for a lesson, and say you come to my barn, Whiskey, and I'm going to take an adult. You come to my barn and you go, okay, Sheila, I'm signing up for lessons. I'll be here. We figured out, and you're coming at 10 o'clock on Tuesday mornings. So 10 o'clock Tuesday mornings, you had a fight with your significant other. You had a flat tire getting here. So all these adult things, right? You have, if you bring those to you in the barn, your horse will be jiggy,
Mm-hmm.
because you have not calmed your mind enough to speak or be with that horse.
Yeah,
Okay.
I get
If you
it.
come tired, you come overwhelmed, depending on the horse or depending on what you need, the horse will either stand still and let you relax there with it, or it will do something oddballish and make you giggle and laugh. So
Mm-hmm.
your inner comes up.
Right.
So have it's funny you bring that up, because in my crown jewel for my saddle sisters, I have a whole section on understanding horse language and a whole section on speaking, because you have to know how the one relates to the other. One is speaking, understanding.
Right. And I know with the horse that I fostered, he was a great horse, but he was very strong-willed. And I knew on the days that I wasn't bringing, and you said that they want to see your authentic self. I think they already know your authentic self, and that's how they know you're not bringing your best.
Right, right. That could be,
No,
yes. I see what you're.
and because I think like days that I knew I wasn't bringing my best self to that horse, he would just walk away and completely ignore me. He wanted nothing to do with me. And other days he was like glue, and those glue days were my best days.
Right, or your heart rate was, or what your mentality was. Absolutely.
Yeah, there was no going around him on a bad day. He wasn't going to
Yeah,
have
because he would just ignore you. I can't deal with you right now.
like, nope, I'm done with you. Come back later. And it was like,
Exactly.
you jerk, get back here. Didn't
That's
sure
right.
doesn't help it.
Right. Not helping me right now.
Yeah, they totally, and dogs do the same thing. Dogs will do the same thing the horses do.
Dogs all know. You can tell your kids all you want about everything's fine. They know.
No, they totally know. So, And I just love that you're doing what you're doing. So with everything that you're doing now and you've built up, what does the future look like for all of this and for you?
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that because that's one of the reasons I want to build up my personal coaching for the Saddle Sisters, because I would like to get out. I would like to phase myself out of the lesson program and maybe just keep my show team and keep the upper level clients. It's not that I don't think that the littles, uh, what I call littles or inexperienced need me, but it's also, those are easier to teach somebody than it
Right.
is the stuff. So I figure I got about 8 years left in me for lessons, and I've got, my husband's quite a bit older than me. He's actually 72 this year, 13 years. So I think, if he come to me and said, okay, babe, it's time, we're gonna sell the farm, do this, then I got to rethink some things. But I think that's why I'm so passionate about Saddle Sisters program, is because it's memberships and it's things like that, so that I can phase out of my brick and mortar.
Right. And like it's the owner versus the operator, right? Like there's going to be a way that you can make that function where you could still hold on to what you're doing and still drive the dream without being hands-on and doing it the whole time. You know,
Exactly.
maybe even developing a program and doing it like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like McDonald's and all them. They oh,
Franchise.
franchising. There you go. You know,
You know what? You mentioned that, Whiskey, because I talked to a girl in Kansas City, which is about 5 hours here,
uh-huh.
and wanted her to do a franchise with the Saddle Sisters.
Well, it just come up in front of you twice now. So,
I know, I know, right? She wasn't interested. I think it's because I told her she would only receive a portion of the
right.
my dream, my criteria, my thing. So, and I think, like you said, it goes back to the Tony Robbins where everybody's on the self, let me do myself thing. I think that has something to do with it.
Right. And learning to transition. I mean, I made a complete transition in the last few months. And I was looking to do one-on-one coaching, and now that I'm nomading, I'm like, that's not going to work in the tech and the logistics and everything else. So I decided to do mine a whole different way too. So it's that when you're not people pleasing and when you're healing all those things, you're more fluid, correct? Like,
Yes.
do you find that like you're more fluid with what you're doing, or how have you found that you're more fluid?
I know the Saddle Sisters is my, how do I want to say, baby,
Hmm.
because it brings me such joy. And not that my riding kids don't. I love my riding kids, but it's time. It's timing,
Right.
you know. It's more of a timing. That's for a young person to pound that arena.
Right. And you can mentor those people, like if you do the franchising and coaching and stuff like that.
Yes,
There and
absolutely.
I was going to bring this up earlier. Do you think part of your growth process and for women in general, like there's this funny thing about women in their 40s start to figure it out. Women in their 50s just like are tell you to go to hell because they're figuring it out. And women in their 60s on up, they just don't even care to talk to you. Like like do you know what I'm saying? Like there's these levels.
Yeah. No, no, no. I get that. I get that. You mean, is that why I want to do the Saddle Sisters? Is
Well, no,
age?
like it's like coming into our own. There's levels, and I think part of it, do you think maybe part of it comes in with age and like that whole what?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I just, yeah. And women are so, what's the word I want? It goes back to that we are so masked so many ways in the persona we put out. I want you authentically. I
Right.
don't want you those you know? So let me help you get authentic.
Right. Like maybe it's exhausting. I think as our lives go on, we just get so tired of it. And the older you get, the less you really care what other people think.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
genuinely, because 20 years ago, I would have told you I didn't care what anybody thought, but I was super vocal about it. And the more you scream it from the rooftop, the more you care.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, silent. I think as we age, we get silence. Well, there's a reason why. It's
Mm-hmm.
breath.
One more time, say the last thing.
We're not going to waste our breath.
Yeah, it's just a waste of energy, and we've realized that takes us a few decades. So
Amen. And
some of us are slow learners. So, all right. So, is there anything either horse related or woman pushing her 60s related, anything like that with that like sage advice that you'd like to leave a message for someone else watching this?
self-care is more important than you think.
Absolutely. And what does that
Yeah.
look like to you?
Self-care to me is loving myself unconditionally and taking the time for just Sheila.
Not just Sheila.
Oh yeah, there you go. See? Yeah. There you go.
Not just
Yeah, taking the time for Sheila.
taking the time for Sheila, which
Yeah.
is amazing. Like, I love you so much. Thank you so much for taking the time with me today. That's a perfect segue, right? So thank
Yes.
you so much. And what was the name of your program again? Is what?
Saddle Sisters
And you are where?
Facebook group. And so, I want to be globally and go online. So we're going to do everything I put together is going to be online also.
Okay. And then I will take the information you give me and I will put it in the show notes also. So if anybody can't remember or can't find her over on Facebook at Saddle Sisters, it will be down here in the bottom, along with the show notes for myself. And anyway, if you want to support my ministry and help me speak to many, many more ladies and keep doing this. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Yes.
Sheila. And thank you
Bye-bye.
everybody for joining us, and keep on rocking.
Where'd my finger?